introductions and whatnot. And yeah, Steph just started the recording, so we can get her going. Okay, I'd like to acknowledge that we're on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional meeting grounds and gathering place and traveling route to the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, Nakota, Sioux, and we acknowledge many First Nations, Métis, Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. In the spirit of our journey to promote reconciliation, we would like to honor the truth of shared history and acknowledge the many nations who have lived and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. That's my Treaty 6 one, Steph. How did you like that? All right.
Very nice.
So I wanted to just chat about substance use and different kinds of mental health issues that seniors have, but I'll do introductions first. So I haven't met you yet, Preet. I'm Chris. I'm out here in Oyen, Alberta. I run this group. Like Steph said, I do the transportation group for Oyen as well. And I do a couple different social groups in town. I run a group for addicts and alcoholics in town. And I used to do counseling in Drumheller for violent males that just got out of prison. But now I am at FCSS in Oyen and just taking care of most of the mental health stuff with the Coalition Communities in Action out here. And where are you located today, dear?
I'm out in North Delta, BC.
Oh, nice. I lived in BC for a while.
Oh, nice.
In a couple different places. I was in Vancouver and then I moved to Surrey and then I was in Invermere for a while as well. So not as north as you, but I was in the mainland for the most part anyway.
Wonderful. So we have no snow here, but yeah.
You don't?
No.
That's what I miss. That's what I miss. When I moved back to Alberta from Vancouver, I thought I was gonna die. Like I went from -5 to -40. I was like, are you guys kidding me?
Yeah.
Anyway.
So how did you find out about this core group from BC?
So I'm a social prescriber here.
Okay.
And then I joined Core BC, but also I'm following more so you guys because you're ahead of many things that we're not even doing back here in BC yet. So that's why I always follow the leaders of the change makers more so than local, just to learn and see what's going on.
No, absolutely.
Especially all the Alberta social prescribing.
Yes.
Definitely. So I just have some basic knowledge here for SUDs and older adults and older people.
I can introduce myself too, Chris.
Oh, sorry, Steph. Jeez.
I haven't met Preet.
Man, the most important person I forgot. Sorry, go ahead, Stephanie.
So Preet, I am so I'm part of the Healthy Aging Alberta team. I'm also the face, so I do the communications engagement here. And if you've been doing the social prescribing, you might be familiar with my colleague Beth, who's a part of our team, running the social prescribing programs in Alberta here. And I am the face behind Core Alberta. So you'll see me, Laura and I manage different core platforms. So behind my primary responsibility is Core Alberta, and then I collaborate with Laura for Core BC and Core National things that we need to do. Yeah. So nice to meet you. So the core groups.
Yes.
Steph keeps me in line to make sure that I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing. Okay, so I got some things at the end here. I actually did some research last couple days, and I found a new pilot program that just got introduced to Alberta within the last year or so that has to do with medication knowledge for older adults and different kinds of substance things like that. So I'll talk about that a little bit at the end, but I have some just basic information to go through first. We'll have a little conversation, Preet, about how substance abuse issues can be overlooked in older adults. There's lots of different things. Do you have any ideas about that?
Yes, I do. I did counseling a little bit before, so I'm aware of our substance use and mental health together here in Surrey, actually. And then I did refer to senior clients. But I'm noticing that in other areas of social prescribing, people are not, for some odd reason, aware of. It's such an important component to social
For
prescribing.
sure.
Many are not aware of it. But
Yeah, it's kind of a touchy subject, I find too, right? Like people either want to deal with it or they don't want anything to do with substances and older adults because it's just
yeah.
kind of a contradictory thing in a way, if you know what I mean, because they're being prescribed
Mhm.
all these medications and whatnot, right?
That's
But
right.
yeah, I deal with a lot of seniors just with different programs that I have going on here, and like as mental health and substances, what I like to get into and dive into that
Yes.
sort of stuff. Some main things that they get overlooked, I found, is that they don't have normal duties anymore, right? In life, like they're not going to work and they're not going to school. So I guess their motor skills and everything, you can't really tell if they're affected as much. Lots of these people are in wheelchairs and whatnot. So if they're drinking or mixing medications and whatnot, you can't really tell because they're not going to be late for work and they're not going to school and failing grades and stuff like that. Another thing is they don't use out in public, right? Like they're usually in an extended care facility or some kind of nursing home or something like that. So it's a little bit tougher to see. Um, Another thing that I found was lots of different mental health issues actually with seniors are congruent with symptoms of substance use. So, like dementia and things like that, right? Like you don't know possibly if the man is losing or man or lady is losing their mind because of dementia or if they have been drinking in their room or whatever the case may be. So it's a little bit tough to
Yeah.
diagnose these things with so many different variables going on with older adults and stuff like that. Yeah, and then we get into medication and things like there's different people think usually that substance abuse or a substance use disorder is taking too much of a substance or taking illegal drugs and stuff like that. But there's so many different avenues. Like you working with seniors and social prescribing and stuff like that, you know that people are all individuals for the most part, and you can't blanket everything, right?
Yes.
With yeah, for sure. It just doesn't work that way. And I find with seniors, it's even more that way because there are so many different variables. This person's taking this medication and then having to use this medication to counteract that medication and blah blah blah.
That's right.
So it
Yeah.
gets into a sticky situation sometimes.
That's right.
So with different things, I guess, with medication, for a substance use disorder, it's also like taking it when it's not needed, right? Like taking it out of your doctor's prescription or whatever the case may be, and then taking meds not prescribed to you to just feel high or whatever the case may be. And a big thing with seniors, obviously, you know as well, is mixing medications with alcohol and whatnot, because that can get very dangerous, even for younger people. And then with older citizens, that their livers aren't breaking down the organisms and stuff as much, it just makes it that much more dangerous,
Right.
for
Are you
sure.
also finding anything about which I've encountered with two people using medical marijuana
Oh,
and
really?
and substance use? So and it's like, oh my goodness. So yeah.
Yeah, we actually just recently they opened up a dispensary maybe 2 years ago, two and a
Mhm.
half, 3 years ago in Owen. And I found since then, the people are kind of going the more natural path if they're
Yeah.
not agreeing with their physician's like medications and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
if they suggest this medication and they don't really want to take it, they don't want to speak up, they'll just go do whatever they want, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I find I don't know about how it's working out in BC right now, but the mind state around here for the most part is like, oh, they're seniors, they've lived their life, right? Just let them do whatever they want to do.
Right.
And like to some points, I don't know about you, Preet, in some ways I agree,
Yeah.
but you have to draw a line, right, with everything.
Right. Yeah. The
Yeah.
boundary is so
Yeah.
blurred, that line.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very tough to draw a solid line with that one for sure. Definitely. One thing I actually found super interesting about alcohol and with older adults using alcohol. This was from what website did I use for this one? Oh, myhealthalberta.ca. So on that website, they actually said that alcohol can enhance hearing problems with older adults. And that's one thing that I honestly did not know. that was completely new information to me with hearing. Like obviously their balance and all that sort of stuff can be affected, cognitive processing and different things like that is obvious. But hearing loss, I did not know anything about that. So new to me. And the funny thing is, recently, since I've been doing this transportation thing, I have a little bit of a path, so I can kind of tell when people are using illicit substances instead of medications that are prescribed and whatnot. So with this transportation program that I've been taking on, I find that especially like issues with limbs and blood flow and stuff like that, they become way worse when seniors start taking illegal drugs and stuff like that. Especially, I don't know what it is. It might just be like their arteries thinning and just overall deterioration of the body. But once they start taking illicit substances, it seems like that oxygen just does not flow to the extremities. Especially people with like gangrene and stuff like that, it makes it so much worse and just speeds up the process, it seems.
Yeah, if they have something like diabetes.
Yeah,
Really
definitely.
compromised.
Definitely. That's another one, Steph. Alcohol and diabetes is terrible because of the sugar content in it, right? And
Mhm.
like, and then that's another thing. You don't know if they're going through a diabetic episode or if they're hammered, because like that's an actual thing that cops have a tough time differentiating too. If you get pulled over and you're just having a diabetic episode, it's hard to tell if you're drunk or if you're just low in blood sugar.
Yeah.
Their symptoms are so similar with that one for sure.
Or having a dementia episode. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like, oh, where am I? Are you hammered today, sir? But no, like that's what I mean with seniors. It's such a gray area. Like Preet was saying, it's so hard to nail it right down.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Actually, another interesting thing I found was incontinence or not making it to the bathroom can be a sign of a substance use disorder with older people as well. Like I didn't really think about it off the top of my head, but it makes perfect sense, right? Like they're already kind of losing control of bowels and things like that. And then once you put intoxicating substances in their body, they might just not even realize or not feel the sensation or something. So that was kind of an interesting fact that I found there. Preet, do you have any behavioral changes that could come possibly from substance use with older adults?
I have a question around the memory long-term care UTIs, and
Yeah,
would that be any effect with alcohol and then the similar symptoms or something?
it
You know how
very
like
well
UTI
could
and
be.
dementia care, like they can sometimes you can't um what's that differentiate between the two if you're having a UTI or you're having like sundowning or you're having dementia or an episode.
I
And
I
Hmm.
did not realize the UTI part of that one. No, I didn't find any kind of literature about that at all, actually, but that's a really good thing that I'll note actually for behavioral changes. That's a good one. Because you never know, right?
yeah,
And with different kinds of infections, like different things affect different people's bodies differently and like tissues and blood, whatnot, like
Yeah.
too many things to discuss. Um, what else do I have here? Okay, so MedWise, this is what I was talking about at the start of our meeting here. So MedWise is it's basically giving older adults knowledge or awareness about how to talk to their physicians about different medications. Like, I think knowledge is one of the biggest things that would come about in this circumstance because seniors, for the most part, I find they're just going to the doctor is saying, here, take this, take this, take this, and they just go along with it, right? And just take
Yeah.
it. But I find, especially now, more recently working with seniors in the last couple of years, that not everyone is comfortable with just taking all of these different medications. So MedWise, like I was saying, it's a pilot project that got started in Bonnyville. It started in Bonnyville and Cold Lake, actually, up here in northern Alberta. And like I said, it's basically to create education and awareness around how to speak to your physician about different kinds of medications or concerns and stuff like that. There are two objectives. Actually, I guess besides raising awareness, the other main objective is to practice necessary communication skills to talk to your physician. So also find sometimes people use all this medical jargon that even I don't understand, and I'm in the field, right? So it's nice to be able to just have layman's terms across the board that everyone can understand and be able to bring it to their physician that way, instead of having to kind of make up their own words that this guy's not going to understand, that lady's not going to understand, the person upstairs isn't going to understand. So it's just nice that they're kind of trying to put everything under one blanket and have this common terminology that everyone can use across Alberta to ask these kinds of questions to their physicians.
Would there also be like teaching them how to recognize like this medicine caused this within me and then write that down so when they go to the doctor they can advocate it?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely, Preet.
yeah.
Absolutely. So what they are actually doing is you can set up different presentations with them. I don't know if this will be starting right away. Like this is a pretty new project. Like I said, the pilot just started maybe last year. So when I was reading up on the website yesterday, they're going to start doing presentations either virtually or in person. From what I gather, you would have to go up north to Alberta to do the in-person ones, but they're able to do them over Zoom as well. So I'm looking into more information like that. Yeah, it's all sorts of things, like exactly what you're saying. It's trying to cover as many of the bases of prescription knowledge for seniors as they possibly can, just to get everyone on the same page, like I was saying before. And it is peer led, so it's not a bunch of mental health professionals telling these seniors again just all this information and what to do and how to take your things and stuff like that. It's led by seniors that have been in these positions, so it's a little bit more relatable to people.
No, nice.
Yeah,
Like a
for
peer
sure.
support kind of.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I find with lots of the groups that I do that helps a lot of people. Like
Yes.
I have younger brothers and stuff that are still in substance issues and stuff like that. And my
Yeah.
one little brother, like he's been to rehab a bunch of times, but he goes there and speaks to a lady that's been sitting in a classroom for 5 years and reading a book and telling him what to do. And she's looking at him like, what do you actually know about my life? Right. So
Right.
I find the peer support thing I find it the most useful tool,
That's right.
just to be able to even bounce ideas off people, right? Like even if you don't feel comfortable speaking, everyone else speaking in the room might spark something in your brain that's like, oh, that's kind of happening to me or something like that. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I think that's the component that people often miss is sharing those stories, that the personal experiences, like open up for
Definitely,
another person to talk. Yeah.
definitely. And I find that with older populations the most as well, like sometimes it's not like they're having an issue with something, but they just want that connection, right?
That's it.
So
Yeah.
yeah, like just someone to chat to. I know Rob, the gentleman that used to run this project, he has a project in Lethbridge called Call for Care, I believe it is. And it's literally that's all it is, that people they'll just call a senior once a week and just have like an hour phone conversation with them or something, just to be able to make them feel like more of a person in a way, right?
And
In
seen.
Yeah, exactly. And understood and heard and all
Yeah.
sorts of things. Yeah, those little tiny gestures go such a long way in some people's lives. And I've
Yes.
really noticed it lately for sure. Like even just driving people to appointments, some of them are so happy that they got
Yeah.
there and back in the winter. And it's just like you start to realize the smallest things make the biggest impact in seniors' mental health sometimes.
That's right.
Yeah,
Would also
definitely.
be like in this pilot, teaching them about like the dietitian around dietary things around the medicine or medicine and like blood pressure if they're having blood pressure problems, like to how to test it, or even blood sugars and medicine, because some medicine can increase blood pressure or whatnot.
That kind of knowledge with the increase in blood pressure and stuff, Preet, I did see literature about that, but I did not
Mm,
see too many things about diet and different kinds of things like that, like how different medications can affect maybe your diet and make you not want to eat as much or make you want to eat certain food or not eat
yeah,
at all. Or yeah, I didn't see really any kind of literature about the diet, but I'm going to do more
yeah.
research on it. So I'll steal your email from Steph at the end, and when I get more literature and everything on it, I can just send it over to you your way. Actually, I can put, let me just find this link here and I'll just put it in the chat for the MedWise website. I don't know if you guys have it in BC yet, because like I said, it's just a pilot
Yeah.
that started in Northern Alberta, but you can obviously take a look at it still.
Because before I have health issues around, I'm actually in kidney failure, but even before, I remember I was one of those people. Okay, whatever the doctor said, you just do, and it's not until some of the things they said did not resonate with me, and so I started my own journey, and that's what I did. Yeah, like which medicine did what. I was diagnosed as diabetes type 2, but I reversed it just by following it, like medicine, the diet, and blood pressure, blood sugar, following blood work. So now I tell everyone, even seniors, how to advocate for your health and what a difference it makes, because you're not like the bystander, you're actually part of the team now, and you're self-aware of yourself.
100%. That's such a good point. I feel like what you said at the end is nailed it completely. Like now you are part of the team, right?
Yeah.
You're not just like the test subject in a way, taking all these different pills. Like you're involved in the decision making, and nailed it for sure. Yeah, that's very important, I find too, for sure.
And I think that's what we've been noticing with the social prescribing too, is because you're the older adults so much more involved in the process and part of that conversation, that
Definitely.
that it's just like you said,
I'm happy that things are going in that direction, to be honest with you, Steph. Oh, sorry for interrupting.
Oh no, I was just finishing the sentence.
Yeah, I'm happy that things are going in that direction, because too many times you see so often just people pushing medications and stuff like that, right? But that's not always, as we all know, that's not always the issue. And with social prescribing, I find that that hits more of the underlying issues, because lots of the times, especially with substance abuse, it's not that you like to do these things, right? It's an escape from your real life, or, wanting to deal with this issue, so you drink instead. But the social prescribing thing, Preet, is so important, because I feel like it's much more effective at hitting the underlying issues, because it's the communication, right? You're telling what's actually the issue. It's not, oh, it seems like this might be the issue, so if you try this, it might work. But yeah, I find social prescribing, there's not so much negative impact, I guess, right? Like, what's the worst that can happen from going to talk to someone? You're not going to ruin your health by taking some bad medication by doing the social prescribing aspect of it. I love it. I love it so much.
You're right. It's all about that root cause. Because if we look at the big picture, we all have something that we do to cope with life itself when you don't find answers anywhere else. If we look at that way, then that perspective, it's like, okay, we're really all in the same boat. It just looks different for everyone.
Definitely. And when you think of it that way, you can use that analogy across the board to any age group as well, right? Like it doesn't just, for sure. 100%. Yeah, definitely. Some interesting stuff I actually found about after COVID times, I guess I would say, with older adults and substance abuse. There's things here that really actually surprised me and were completely opposite of what I thought. So what I found, this website is the Canadian Center on Substance Use and Addiction. So what they were saying in here is, after COVID, it didn't spike substance use in lots of older adults. Like, it didn't create the issue for people that weren't using before to start using different substances, but it made the substance use disorders in the ones that were already using worse. So it was really strange to me. I would have thought it worked both ways. Like, it would start a problem as well and contribute to the existing problem. But it said that it didn't start a substance use disorder in lots of older adults just because of COVID. And then I think, in my mind, that kind of goes back to the whole social prescribing thing again, because in that sense, people weren't going out of their way to get intoxicated to deal with their problems, right? So maybe they were going about it a different way. And with social prescribing coming up, who knows? Maybe that's the avenue that they went, because they weren't obviously going into substances and different things like that. I just found that's very interesting, actually, to be honest with you.
You made a good point. I wonder if it's, I know in BC this story, I'm sure must have been other places. The senior services, like getting volunteers on board to make those weekly calls or daily calls to people so they wouldn't get isolated. I wonder if that spectator role or not.
It
And
very well could be.
both.
It very well could
Yeah.
be. Yeah, definitely. Because I know isolation is terrible for substance use too, for sure. Like that's a big thing, and that's why I was so surprised actually with after COVID that it didn't start a bunch of problems because I work right beside the extended care building, like we share a parking lot with them.
Mhm.
And my boss used to get so sad during COVID watching those old people like just looking out the windows and not being able to leave and they're all in lock. Yeah,
Yeah.
isolation is terrible. Isolation is not good.
Yes.
Um, Another actually funny thing, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba were the ones that accessed substance use services the most during COVID, which is kind of interesting to me, to be honest. I would have thought places with higher populations like Ontario, different places like that, because they did all of a sudden get isolated right away. Like they were used to being out in public with millions of other people. And then when
Yeah.
COVID hit, everyone gets isolated. But yeah, I guess Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba were the ones that were using a little bit more.
Hmm.
But in Alberta, I guess they always say that we use a lot, right, Steph? Hey, because we got all the oil workers here. Man, I found for sure when I was working in Drumheller with AHS and with the men's group out of the prison there, I found a lot of those guys would be rig workers and whatnot, and they just end up getting in trouble up there, and then they're not bad people. It just it happens, I guess, you know. Another thing through COVID, one, okay, so like I said before, the new disorder would not be triggered because of the isolation through COVID, but they said 1 in 3 people with an existing substance use disorder after COVID reported suicidal ideas. So the people that were already using, it seemed to me that the isolation hit them twice as hard. And it was more men than women, and that's just the statistics that go throughout Canada. Usually it's more men that are committing suicide than women. And
Mm.
it's the same in this circumstance, 30% women, 36% men reported suicidal thoughts after that.
Mm.
Hey, Carolyn. Don't be sorry you're late. No big deal. We're just hanging out, having a chat about substance use and older adults.
Oh, thanks. Just had a lot of fun with Zoom right now. So,
Oh, isn't
Oh,
it wonderful?
yeah.
yeah, that's okay. Things happen. Like I said, no big deal. Have you heard of MedWise at all, Carolyn? Where are you located actually, dear? Do you want to do a quick
Edmonton.
introduction?
Edmonton. Menwise. No, I have not heard of Menwise. Tell me.
Oh, MedWise. They actually started, it's a pilot project that actually started just north of you if you're in Edmonton. They started it in Cold Lake and Bonnyville were the first 2 pilots.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like it started within the last couple of years here for sure. And it's basically just a knowledge and awareness program for older adults dealing with different kinds of medications and stuff like that. Like it gives you knowledge on how to speak with your pharmacist about concerns with your medications if you
Oh,
feel like they're not working properly for you or different kind of circumstances like that. So yeah, we were just having a little bit of talk about substance use and then I brought MedWise up quickly. And I don't have a ton of information on it right now. Like I said, it's just a pilot and I did some quick research within the last couple of days. But for the most part, it's basically just an awareness course for older adults. So they do in-person stuff in Northern Alberta, and then they'll be starting Zoom stuff all around the country here, hopefully soon.
wonderful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because we were talking
Definitely.
about um how some of the substance use can affect the medications that
Mhm.
older adults are on, and yeah, have some issues there. So we were talking
A
about.
personal story to that effect. I almost lost my mother due to medications. A couple years ago, her blood pressure was really low. She was passing out. Her blood pressure was so low it wasn't registering on any of the machines at the hospital.
Oh,
And they
geez.
came in and they took her down 2/3 of all her medications. You know, and if we hadn't checked up on her and done that, she wouldn't be here.
Yeah,
So it
100%.
yeah.
yeah, it's a big thing for people.
That's really scary, actually, Carolyn.
It was very scary. I, I'd be talking to her and her blood pressure on the machines wouldn't even register. And I thought, wow, I thought, well, she's still talking, so something's happening. But you know, that just shows you how quickly the body can get more sensitive to meds as you get older, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's another thing that we were talking about at the start a little bit, Carolyn, is just
Yeah.
that your body does become a lot more sensitive, right? And with this older population, your body's not breaking down the enzymes and alcohol as quickly, so you stay drunk longer, it affects you more, and then mixing it with medications, it's just a dangerous slope to be going down for sure.
I know in her building, there's 66 units, and quite often you see there's a few that are alcohol users, and all of a sudden their lives really take a downward spiral.
Hmm.
So do you find that you're able to tell that quite quickly when people in her building start using substances? Are you able to tell quite quickly, or is it a little bit hard to differentiate?
Probably harder to differentiate because everyone's an individual, right? But
Yeah,
they really notice it among their population that you know, someone's not quite right.
for
And
sure. And like I think what you're saying there is they notice it in the population. It goes back to what Preet was saying. She does a lot of stuff with social prescribing in BC.
mhm.
And like that's so important, right? If you notice that something's going on with your friend or your neighbor or whatever it is, like ask them a quick question or something like that, you know?
Hmm.
Like I was thinking, in fact, I reached out to St. John's Ambulance the other day. I thought, you know, there really needs to be a one-day program or something for, you know, peer knowledge. How do you reach out to your peers? Some of them are good at it because of their background. They've been nurses and whatever in their own lives. Others, not so much. And so they notice these things and they go, well, what do we say anything? Or do we not say anything? Or how do we approach these people? And there's a lot of hesitancy, you know,
Absolutely.
and uh, and stuff. And yeah, so I think, you know, it's an area because so many of them, people who do live communally, they will see these things way before a doctor sees them, before a family member sees them, or whatever. So, and a lot of these buildings do not have healthcare support in them, you know, they're
Yeah.
just on their own. So,
Well, that is a pretty big issue actually for sure. Hey, just give them the knowledge about how to talk about these issues.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point actually, Karen. I made a note about that to try and get some information. That's probably a good topic for an upcoming meeting about how to speak about those things.
Yeah.
We have a session on January 22nd about
Look at you going.
You the plug. There you go, Steph. Okay, Jenny. Sorry, what is that one?
it's the one I put in the chat. So
Oh,
it's all
perfect.
about I need this medication, and it's we're
Yes.
co-hosting with the Canadian Medication Appropriateness Deep Prescribing Network. So they work across Canada with its education around your medication and deprescribing, right? Reducing your prescriptions and paying attention to that and what things to pay attention because your prescriptions will change and like how you can going back to that conversation about how you can be part of your own medicine journey and take control of that part of your life, right?
Yeah.
Um so anyway, the lady presenting, they do their work all across Canada,
Mhm.
but they're going to be doing a presentation for us here on January 22nd for
Nice.
for service providers, of course, to how you can work with the older adults to manage their medication journey and how they can have this information about what signs and symptoms they need to be paying attention to and just like how you can open that conversation with them, right?
I think that's the biggest thing sometimes, Steph, is how to begin the conversation. Because
Yeah.
if you can make that transition for them like not so intrusive and make them feel comfortable about talking about that, I find that it flows out a lot easier. Like if they don't
Yeah,
really
and
know,
make
they're
sure they
not
have the
going to
right
do it.
language to tell their doctors what's going on, so you don't have an issue like, Caroline's that happened, right? So,
Yeah, for sure. For
yeah.
sure. And that's really scary actually, Caroline's little story there, because I don't want to get into it actually, never mind.
That's fine.
It's just, yeah, I don't understand why. I feel like some mental health professionals, like we were talking at the start, they're just all about the prescriptions and stuff like that, right? There's other ways to treat things, and I feel that maybe prescriptions shouldn't be the first line of defense all the time. There's got to be other avenues to start with, I think, sometimes.
Well, with older people too, the polypharmacy becomes so intricate. They can be on so many different things, and this can be affecting that, and
Yeah.
you know,
And we were
Mhm.
talking about that earlier too, Caroline. There comes to a point where you're taking this prescription, but then you're taking that prescription to counteract the effects of this one, and then that one counteracts all of these ones. And yeah, it becomes a slippery slope sometimes.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely.
I think also another point, as part of communication should be when they do start those conversations. Sometimes, not all, but doctors or healthcare professionals kind of doubt what you're saying, and then you start self-doubting yourself. So it's
Mhm.
important not to, like if you're feeling something, you're writing it down, then it kind of shows like, unfortunate that we have to have it like that, but show proof like, hey, like during this day, this time, this happened. Or like, why did it happen? We took this or that, just to show to the doctor that when you're talking to them, they're not like putting those self-doubts in you, that you start questioning your own body or your own symptoms. But yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
100%. And I think
You
that
have that
that
stronger
is,
voice for yourself.
yes, that's it.
yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I think you're right in that instance too, Pete. A lot of the times you do get looked at sometimes like, what do you're not a doctor, I'm the doctor here. I'll tell you what's going on. But yeah, I agree. There should be more knowledge around that for sure.
Mhm.
Uh, they cover everything. I even took notes today and everything. You will learn that usually we just fly by the seat of our pants and have a nice conversation. But I was so proud of myself today. I took notes and I have everything organized. It was excellent. Um, is there anything else that anyone wants to say here before I take off? Get you out of here 5 minutes early.
I'm just so thankful that Chris and Stephanie and Preet, people are having these conversations.
Mm.
Bringing
100%.
up that awareness, bringing up that knowledge, just so wonderful.
Mhm.
I agree with that for sure, Carolyn. And it takes the stigma down a little bit too, right? I find that lots of the times people don't want to have these conversations because they're worried about being judged or what the repercussions of the actual conversation might be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's too bad we didn't have Sandy here from Men's Sheds, but
Mm.
This
just
would
like
have been his
how,
thing, hey, Steph?
yeah, just how that's flown off the hook this year, and so many more locations opened up just because that need and
Mm.
that wanting to have these conversations, right? And
For
having that
sure.
space for older men to have those conversations.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And unfortunately, as we see, it is lots of older men.
Yeah.
Especially in rural Alberta. Like I don't know how rural the rest of you guys are, but in my town is completely a farming town. And if you start talking about mental health with an 80-year-old farmer that's been around here his whole life, he's going to look at you like, dude, are you crazy?
Right.
So
But
what
yeah,
kind
so it's all about the stigma of trying to break that down a little bit. It's very important, I think.
So Chris, where are you in Alberta?
I'm located in Oyen, Alberta, actually. So I'm
Oh,
about,
okay.
if do you know about where that
Yeah,
is?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, very isolated out here.
And then Preet, you said, where did you say you were from in BC again?
North Delta. So
So is
close
it
to
small?
Vancouver, sort of close to Vancouver, Surrey, kind of.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
40 minutes from Vancouver.
Nice.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we'll see you guys next month. if you want
Yeah,
to pop by.
Mhm.
Shoot Stephanie or I an email with any ideas for future meetings too. We're
Mhm.
always open to ideas and suggestions and stuff like that.
we have the next one booked for January 20th. And we hope to see you again, Preet, as well.
Yes, definitely, I will be back
Yeah,
again.
And
definitely
of course,
come back.
Caroline.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Definitely. Caroline, sorry, dear. You said are you right in Edmonton or are you in an outlying area up there?
My office is I work for Edmonton Southside PCN, but I
Okay.
also am part of a farming community out of town
Mhm.
around Camrose.
Okay.
So I live in two worlds.
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say you kind of are right in the middle there. Hey, you have the urban side and you have the city side for sure.
Yeah. And sometimes they have conflicts with each other. So there you go.
Yeah, you missed the round of introductions, Carolyn.
Yeah.
But Carolyn also runs the Senior Center Without Walls. What is it? Seniors Without
Yeah.
Walls?
Mhm.
Senior Center Without Walls. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually think I was on that website the other day with your Snow Angels program or Snow and Mow program.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So I'm pretty sure I was checking out your guys' website the other day there actually, Caroline, because we're looking at trying to implement something like that in our town as well.
Yeah. And, for Alberta in particular, we're open to any Albertan who is over 55 who is feeling socially isolated.
Mhm.
And so we're open from anywhere in the province. And I know BC in the past has had a few of these programs set up as well.
Mhm.
So
Very good programs. They're very good, especially for very rural areas. They're needed. They're needed for sure.
I was just doing
Okay, guys.
some research though, and Age Well Canada and Envisage has been doing a lot of work. So
Definitely.
Yeah, we have a recording from them. They did a presentation here a few months ago. So I have one on YouTube of like what they're up to with their technology and the apps that they're working on
yeah,
too.
yeah. Their Jerry app I'm quite fascinated about. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like it takes a tablet and makes it like so user friendly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I want to investigate more.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, have a good
Yeah,
afternoon.
Yeah,
have a wonderful winter, everyone. We'll see everybody in
Absolutely, guys.
January.
holidays.
See you next month.
Yeah.
Chris
Have
has
fun
to
on your
run off
vacation,
to
Steph.
go take seniors somewhere.